So I chaired the CHM's expert working group. And first of all, I'd like to thank the members of the expert working group who worked with me tirelessly with over 40 hours of face-to-face, on Zoom at least, committee work and additional reading time. We made recommendations to the Commission on Human Medicines, and then undertook an independent review, and the Commission on Human Medicines is chaired by Professor Stuart Ralston. We had a wide variety of experts on both groups, including people who were experts in viral diseases, immunologists, epidemiologists who look at disease patterns, clinical pharmacologists and toxicologists who are experts in various aspects of medicines. We looked at all sorts of data which is available to us, including raw data, unprecedented access to raw data. And this allowed us to look at the overall risk-benefit analysis. We look at risk-benefit analysis for every compound that comes through in terms of licensing, and we use the same stringent standards to be able to look at the risk-benefit of this particular vaccine. We looked at laboratory data, we looked at the manufacturing processes and the quality data, as well as the clinical trial data. From this, we came to the conclusion that there was overwhelming benefit for this particular vaccine, and therefore recommended to the MHRA that its use should be authorized. I just want to say a few things about the effectiveness of this vaccine. The data show that this vaccine is 95% effective. It is effective in all the groups that were given the vaccine within the trial, irrespective of age, sex, race, or country that they lived in. We've also looked at the safety of this. The safety of the vaccine is similar to other vaccines, and most of the side effects are very mild and usually last for a day or so. We've been very careful to look at the quality of the vaccine, particularly given the need for storing the vaccine at ultra-low temperatures. And we had visits from NHS colleagues to tell us what the deployment strategies were, and we were able to advise them as well on the stability issues that may be important for deployment. It's important to note that what we have got is data relating to the vaccine up to this point. It is important that we undertake surveillance following the use of vaccines in the population. And we were very keen to recommend that the MHRA undertakes active surveillance of the vaccine after it is used. And this includes the use of yellow cards, as well as a special active monitoring program, which we will be inviting people to join. The committee also considered that no specific precautions were required on administration of this vaccine in people who already have had COVID-19, and no testing is required before receiving the vaccine. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Sir Munir. Now I'll turn to Professor Lim Wei Shen to tell us about the work of the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation.
Thank you, June. The Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation is an independent scientific advisory body. We advise the Secretary of State on the provision of vaccination and immunisation services. As a committee, we've been meeting regularly over the last few months. We've done that to appraise new and emerging scientific evidence related to our role. On the slide, you will see the types of information that we've been assessing. These include data on vaccine safety and efficacy, but also how COVID-19 has impacted the UK. This includes impacts of COVID-19 in care homes, on people from different ethnic groups, as well as people in different occupations. The data have come from primary care, from Public Health England, and from hospitals. We've also looked at mathematical models that have helped us to understand how different vaccine strategies might be used. The UK is fortunate in that we have one of the best immunisation programs in the world. Every year, through the infant, childhood and adult vaccination programs, millions of us are protected from serious disease. All of that expertise also informs JCVI's decision-making. For the first phase of the pandemic and its vaccination program, we are suggesting that vaccines are offered in order to protect people who are most at risk of dying from COVID-19, as well as to protect health and social care services, because by doing so, we also protect lives. The advice is divided into two main parts. The first is to offer vaccination according to the estimated risk of dying from COVID-19. The risk of dying from COVID-19 is very strongly associated with age. Age is by far the single most important factor in terms of risk from COVID-19. The second strand to the advice is regarding implementation of the vaccination program. And we advise that due attention is paid locally to mitigating health inequalities. I'll say more of that in a moment. On the next slide, you will see the prioritization order in terms of the offer of vaccination. Residents in care homes for older adults and care home workers are the highest priority. Following that are those 80 years of age and above, alongside frontline healthcare and social care workers. Then come those 75 years of age and above, followed by those 70 years of age and above, alongside people who are clinically extremely vulnerable because of specific health conditions. They're followed by people who are aged 65 years and above, and then individuals who are aged 16 to 64 years with underlying health conditions that also put them at risk of COVID-19, but where those conditions are not already represented in the conditions putting somebody at clinically extremely vulnerable risk. The prioritization order then continues down the age groups until all those aged 50 years and above are included. This is phase one of the program. In phase one, we hope that 90 to 99% of people who are at risk of dying from COVID-19 will be included or covered. The next part of the advice relates to implementation of the program. We advise that local NHS providers, local public health teams, and local leaders work together to address community needs and local needs. We suggest that community teams work together to mitigate against health inequalities that might occur in relation to ethnicity, deprivation, or access to healthcare. We also recognize that there may be operational reasons why the prioritization needs to be more flexible. This may relate to vaccine characteristics or vaccine supply or exceptional personal circumstances. Overall, we have good news today. We have a vaccine that is acceptably safe and effective. Good vaccine uptake will save lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Lim. Let's now turn to questions from the media. And our first question comes from Fergus Walsh of the BBC.
Oh, right, thanks very much. Question for Dr. June Rain. How can you reassure the public that they can have absolute confidence in this vaccine, given how quickly you've approved it? And for Professor Wei-Shen Lim, can you just sum up for me the reasoning behind your list of priorities about who gets the vaccine first?
Thank you. A really important point relates to the thorough work, scientifically rigorous, methodologically sound that the agency has done. And the way of working in a rolling review ensures that our teams of clinicians and scientists are working in parallel to complete all the work according to strict guidelines on safety, effectiveness and quality is complete. This vaccine has only been approved because those strict tests have been done and complied with. And everyone can be absolutely
You heard Dr.
confident.
June Rain, Head of Regulator, MHRA of the United Kingdom, speaking on the Pfizer vaccine and also making an important point on who will be covered in the first stage. Those who are at the highest risk of dying will be covered in phase 1, covering 90% of people at the risk of dying. That's the focus of the first phase. We'll continue to bring you up to speed with the developments there. Let's now talk about other inputs coming in at this hour. Let's